freeze drying or lyophilization, right?
Freeze drying process is converting any live material, botanic material or live organism into a solid form so that from there it can be converted into a dry form.
Hello and welcome to PMC English. You're watching Success Stories. I'm Idris, and with me today is a very special guest. She has been a professor in one of the finest universities in Telangana, and she has also done a great research in preserving flowers. She is the founder of Live Florals, and she also manages this business on her own with a very limited staff. A very warm welcome to our show, Dr. Mahalakshmi V Reddy ji.
Namaste.
Freeze drying or lyophilization, right? This is the process that you use to preserve flowers.
Exactly.
So freeze drying or lyophilization, that's the process which helps you to preserve the flowers, right? I mean to say, if you can elaborate, it's more of a scientific, process, like as you said in the lab also, there was a bit noisy environment. Since you said it will become ice first, and from ice directly vapors. Exactly. That's the process. So
exactly.
Could you please elaborate it?
Exactly. See, flowers have a lot of water molecules. So these water molecules, so much of moisture in it has to be evaporated. If it has to be evaporated, unless the water molecules is converted into ice, typical freeze drying process is converting any live material, botanic material or live organism into a solid form so that from there it can be converted into a dry form. So that the dry state comes only through the removal of the moisture from it, that is through the sublimation process, that is immediately after taking the flowers into the extent of -27 to -30 degrees depending upon the density of the flower. Some flowers doesn't require that much of this one temperature, but some flowers really requires so much of temperature so that it becomes a solid ice like. So once that state it reaches, then it has to be taken for sublimation. So sublimation time, it starts evaporating. Once the vacuum is applied, so there is a pressure built.
Sublimation is the process of extracting
moisture from the material. From whatever the product that we keep, it has to remove the moisture. So in this time, at that particular point, electric temperature we call it. So at that point, it releases the moisture from the ice, and then it turns into vapor. Instead of turning into liquid, it turns into vapor. So this vapor gets transferred, and then it gets accumulated in the lower shelf of the unit called the condenser. So there all that ice gets collected. So through the defrosting process, we can remove the ice from it. Otherwise, we can allow, if that process is not very long, if the activity is not going to be hindered, we can continue with the machine and then complete the process for about, depending upon the flower character. Right. Some flowers require only 5 days treatment, because that's my experimental outcome. So some requires only five days, like for example gypsophilia, limonium, these are all feathery material. So those requires, but we have to give the treatment so that they remain long. So these flowers takes 5 days, but there are some flowers like roses has different texture, different arrangement. So those requires about 7 to 9 days, and there are some flowers like bird of paradise or red ginger. These are flowers which I really feel very happy when I use it in marriage. So I collect a lot of it. Heliconia, these are all very dense flowers. So those flowers requires 12 to 14 days also. So when I am trying to keep those flowers in bulk, sometimes I just keep only red ginger. So I'm sure what is a kind of a program I should give. If I combine with the other material, it is sometimes I have the problem with some are over dried, some are just dried, however they get dried. Sometimes it becomes over dried also. So such things can be avoided when there is a multiple material. So sometime, for example, this time I put only roses. Sometimes I keep only bird of paradise and then heliconia. Those are all similar character material. So I put it in such a way that my program is properly just meeting the
suitable
requirement for the flower.
flowers. Yeah, so that means you need a lot of mindfulness here.
Yes.
So while combining different
Exactly.
flowers, you need to have an idea how to adjust the temperature
Very
and
true.
the duration.
No,
also.
our programming should be done according to the character of the flower.
Right.
See, when you talk about the flower character, it is not only the color that matter. It takes care of its texture, its appearance, its sheen, and all the other factor. Of course, fragrance is one of the important factor of a flower. But however, when we put it into the machine and then when we allow it to vaporize, some amount of fragrance is lost. However, we can still feel some mild fragrance of any flower that we use.
So it preserves the fragrance too, right?
And not very much, to some extent, yes. I mean, we can feel it is rose, right. No, rose as its
natural
scent.
feel.
Yeah, feel. However, what happens is when these flowers are kept into the designer frame or a glass dome, okay, they have to be air sealed, because these flowers in the process of dehydration, moisture removal, it becomes so brittle, it becomes so papery. Unless we give the post treatment to hold the shape of the flower, it can all shatter. So we give the post treatment. After post treatment, we try to mount it in the frame so that it will stay intact. If you don't do that, flowers will be once again reabsorbing the moisture if it is left in the open environment. So lot of care is required when you are working with the flowers. Though there are people who are asking for the freeze dried roses in loose, without mounting it in the frame, I discourage, because they don't know how to handle those flowers. It cannot be, after putting so much of effort to process it, and then so much of energy is involved, so much of time is involved, so much of crafting is involved. With all that, we cannot just part with the good quality of flowers. So as far as possible, I will try to put it into a frame and mount it and give it according to the taste. I will mount it in the frame and give it to them. So even the wedding flowers, wedding bouquets, and then even the valentine flowers, there are so many special flowers that come to my workshop for processing. For everything, it is the same. I collect it, I process them according to the requirement of the character of the flower and its condition. Then I try to preserve it and then put it into the frame and give it to them.
Right, wonderfully explained. Now this process, first you get the flowers, first a customer place order, like this flower I want, right? Then you will put it in the machine for freeze drying, and after that there's a designing part wherein you put a box, and you recommend box is important.
Frames
we can say.
Some of it are designer frames. I give it, I prepare the product in the box in where I can transport it to the picture frame company, so that they will be able to do the framing. Right. In India, we are finding that kind of excellent frames we don't get. But when I was in abroad, I was able to see my mentor. He had so many varieties of imported frames, because that is possible for them. But for us, we don't get those kind of frames. And even I made a lot of attempts to buy them, and I realized that they are not available in small numbers. If you order for 1,000, 2,000, I will be able to get it. And for my small work, it is not worthy to spend all that. So I try to manage with my picture framing company. I just design it and give it to them to make it with all care. I ensure that they do the good job to satisfy me. So this is how I take up my special flowers. And apart from that, I keep lot of flowers as a pre-made designs, where if somebody wants some flower, when they ask over phone, madam, we are interested in this kind of flower, or if you are interested in roses alone, or it can be a blend of like a bouquet, it can be. So according to the requirement, I'll tell them, it is possible, and in a day or two I will be able to give. So there are people who can wait, but there are few people who don't have time for waiting. They have to go for a occasion, and they just jump in and say, ma'am, we would like to take. So whatever, I keep some material ready with me. Some I do it taking the order, some I preserve according to the customer's special requirement.
There are already some designs ready which you can give immediately on demand, and some you get orders, like special orders, then it will take some time, of course, the complete process, then you
Very true.
Right.
Especially wedding flowers and all, it may take about not less than about 6 weeks also. Absolutely. Because it's a stage by stage. So I take lot of effort to see that I give the best.
Now we'll talk about a bit of this technical part again. Once the designing is complete, I mean the processing rather, which comes from this machine, and then lyophilizer, right? If I'm pronouncing it right.
Perfectly.
Wonderful, thank you so much.
Do not forget to
like, share and subscribe.
and yes, do visit our website www.pmcenglish.com.